Hello, good morning, everyone. It's Steve Craig with Peak IDV, and I have another Peak IDV Live special coverage. This time, we're covering a recap of Finovate Spring in San Diego, and I have a very special guest today, Greg Palmer. Welcome to the stream, Greg.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Steve.
Well, Greg, we saw each other in San Diego. It was a few weeks ago. You were very busy running around doing all the MC duties. I say your comedic timing has really improved since the last time I was laughing constantly at your jokes. So I think that was a great part of the show. How was the move down to San Diego for the Finovate Group?
Yeah, honestly, it was really good for us. We had been in the Bay Area for a long time before that. And this was the first time we decided to go down the coast into San Diego. Got a lot of really positive feedback from attendees. We saw an uptick in our attendance numbers and our sponsorship. So overall, it was really positive for us. And you could tell I was in a relaxed mood. I was able to make all those jokes on stage. It's really just the atmosphere, the sunshine, the palm trees, and all that fun stuff. There's something really special about being able to go talk fintech inside and then go hang out at a fire pit by a marina outside. So I think that was a really good move for us.
Yeah, I think the location was excellent. And I've lived in San Diego now for over 12 years, and I've never been to that Sheraton. I didn't realize just how nice it was. It's so close to the airport, you wouldn't think it would have all those great bay views and lots of places to have outside conversations. So very, very cool. And I enjoyed my time there. I've got a few questions, if I may. These are teed up about the show. The first one is around themes. What were some of the major themes that you saw from Finovate Spring this year?
Sure. So there are a couple that we can highlight. Obviously, artificial intelligence is one of the biggest ones. It has been a theme for a very long time. I think the biggest thing that we saw this year is, a couple of years ago, people were looking at artificial intelligence and thinking, what can I do with this? How is this going to impact me? Now we're starting to see people bring concrete value through artificial intelligence applications. So while it's easy to sort of say all of this is AI, we're now getting to a point where you could use it in the same way you could talk about the internet. All these are internet-based applications. Well, they are, that's true, but that's not really what they do. And now we're seeing artificial intelligence being used in anti-fraud situations, in customer service, customer experience situations, personalization, regulatory compliance pieces. So this is, I think, the biggest difference is now instead of having this kind of amorphous, hey, look at this brand new piece of technology, now we're seeing targeted applications that are delivering concrete value. And that's a really big step, right? This is not something that's easy to do. You have to give a lot of credit to the demoing companies who are able to take this broad technology and point it towards a real problem. And I think you saw the audience really respond well because instead of having this question of, oh, I need to do something with AI, but what is it? Now they're getting people who are saying, hey, here's what you can do with AI. Here's what you can do with AI. And it's just much more concrete, much more real world. So that's the first piece. The second piece is kind of a continuation of something that we've seen a lot over the last, call it, 18 months or so. There are a lot of really new companies coming into the fintech ecosystem, and that's really exciting. We're able to bring them up on stage. In many cases, companies who are making their public debut, or this is the first time they've been on stage. So we're starting to see, or continuing to see, I should say, more venture capital funding going towards these early stage companies. We're seeing companies who are taking that funding and doing really fun stuff with it. So, from my perspective, we're right at the beginning of what looks like it's going to be a big wave of new talent, new entrants coming into the space. And as we've seen before, when you have that kind of wave, you get this push, which pushes the entire industry forward. The status quo elevates when you have these newcomers coming into the space. So two really exciting developments.
I really liked that companies were showing off the generative media elements of these AI technologies, whether it be for chat conversations, like in a customer support use cases, or even text-based and how someone can prompt engineer their way into whether it's financial literacy or just improving their posture operationally as a company. So very impressed this year with the demos. But this year there were some other presentations beyond demos that were peppered in throughout. Sometimes they were keynotes, sometimes they were presentations. I'm curious if you could share what were some of the memorable ones for you that were non-demo topics that really stood out.
Yeah, no, we actually had a really good slate of speakers this time around, and there were a couple that I'll highlight. So, We had John Iannarelli. He goes by FBI John. He's an ex-FBI agent who was talking a lot about fraud in the financial and banking space. A really good presentation, which had a lot of humor in it, but also had a lot of actionable insights into, how banks can protect themselves, how they can protect their customers. So that was, I think, a really good one. And obviously, he's been in the trenches. He's seen it all. And so that perspective is something that I think is really valuable. I'd also highlight John Lakefish. So, a couple of Johns right out of the gate. John Lakefish was another one who was talking about artificial intelligence specifically, and looking at it from this really broad standpoint of, how do you need to be thinking about it? Again, a lot of humor involved there, a lot of really concrete ideas as well about how you can go and be productive and kind of use these new technologies. That was one of I think there's some really attention getting moments in there as part of that slide deck. Just, AI has a way of capturing the audience's attention, especially generative AI, where you can really talk about all the cool things you can do. For a lot of people in our audience who aren't as comfortable on some of these platforms like ChatGPT or other types of things like that, he really gave a lesson on here's how you can use this to do some cool things pretty easily. And then the last one that I'll highlight is a frequent Finovate presenter named Manas Chawla, who is from London Politico out of the UK. His piece on just kind of the macroeconomic trends around the world right now. This is a huge thing that a lot of banks are thinking about. We've got conflicts in the Middle East, conflicts in the Ukraine. We've got a new administration, which is creating waves all across global economies. And so being able to take that step back and look at this from not a fintech standpoint necessarily, but from this really high level macroeconomic standpoint, I thought was really fun as well. And Manas always does such a good job with that.
I really enjoyed the presentations that I attended, from the keynote speakers to actual presentations. I found that it helped with pattern interrupts, because you're watching demos, you want to be very intent, and then there's a break and a pause, and then you come back and kind of get back into the groove with a presentation, and then it leads into the demo, which kind of goes to my next question, which is, what makes a great demo? What's a best of show like demo? And I know you coach many of the companies, most of the companies that come through. What are some of your key insights that you share with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So for anybody who's interested in like a really long version of this answer, I have that answer. We can take a half hour down the road. I do a lot of demo coaching, and so this is something that I care quite a bit about. But there are a couple of factors that really line up to make a best of show demo. Obviously, the technology needs to be there. That's the first piece. The other piece that I think is really important is to take the step back from the technology itself as you're going to be demoing it and think at a really high level, what are the messages that I want the audience to take away? And how can I make my technology seem easy to understand, not from a how it works standpoint, but from a why does it matter whether it works or not standpoint? And this is something that our best of show demoers do a really good job of. They can show you their amazing technology, not from the standpoint of, hey, this is a curious and cool thing that you should be in awe of. I mean, you can and you should, but also it's kind of turning that corner into, this is something which you need to have, and here's why. Here's the problem that it solves for you. Here's the opportunity that it unlocks. And a lot of people struggle initially when they're thinking about how they want to show their technology. They struggle to come up to this really big picture level. And that's such a crucial piece. One of the things that I think is really fun is you can look at the best of show demos, all available, by the way, finovate.com/videos. You can see all the demos up there. But if you scroll through them, there are a lot of different styles in terms of personality, in terms of how many speakers we have on stage, in terms of, do we use humor? Do we use a role play? Any of these types of things. But if you look at them with that really critical eye, what you'll see is they make it very easy for the audience to understand what's new, what's exciting, and most importantly, why they should care. And that really is what creates that connection with the audience, and it makes you much more likely to get that best of show vote.
That's great advice, Greg. When I think about the times I've seen like best of show where I knew it in that moment, I'm like, hey, this is going to be a best of show, it is in part the storytelling. Some of it is theatrics, but it's engagement and being able to hook people into that story and connect the problem to them, so they realize, okay, here's the solution. So it's really, really great advice. It gets me thinking about
one more thing I just wanted to chime in on that one too, is I think a lot of people look at it and think, I have to be a performer. I have to be like this charismatic person in order to deliver a good demo. And you really don't. You really can do it as a coder, as somebody who's more comfortable in front of a computer screen than they are in front of a stage full of people. There are a lot of pieces that you can learn to make it successful. It's less about the performance. It's more about the content, which I think, at least for an audience like ours, where you have a lot of senior executives who aren't looking for a show. They're not looking for entertainment. They're looking for solutions. And so that's a really big difference.
It's a great addition. I've got another question for you. Now that you've been in Finovate 15 plus years, you've seen lots of different demos, you've seen Best of Show. What do you think is the recurring theme when you span out? Are there any specific eras that you've seen of Finovate? What is one of the common, I guess, theme to use the word over and over, the common themes
Yeah.
for Finovate?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've seen a lot since 2010, and from my perspective, at a really, really high level, a large majority of fintech innovations are brought about by one of two primary factors. Either there's a new piece of technology, new technological capability that unlocks potential for people to do something new and exciting. For example, and we're going to go way back in time here, but in the early days of the iPhone, this was an amazing new piece of hardware. People are looking at what can I do with this? And for a long time, people are trying to figure out how can I use this amazing new piece of technology in a banking or financial services arena. And what you saw immediately after that were a lot of companies who were creating apps, trying to figure out what should these apps do, what do customers actually want out of their banking app, and who even, first off, who even wants a banking app? And then if they do, why do they want it? So at a really early stage, that was a really formative moment for me. And then the other piece that we see having a big impact in financial technology is a problem, something that needs to be solved. And so, my first experience at Finovate, we were right in the middle of kind of both of these. We had the brand new technology of the iPhone. We had the recent experience of the subprime mortgage crisis. And so you see there's all these exposed cracks within the industry. There's all these places where you can say, okay, we're not doing enough here. At the same time, there's new technological innovation, which says, okay, let's make it possible to do more. I've seen this basic pattern replicated over and over again. Whether it's, now we have blockchain technology, a new amazing technological innovation. What can we do with it? Spurring new ideas, new growth, new companies. Now we have artificial intelligence, a new technology. What can we do with it? Going back a couple of years, we had this major global pandemic, obviously massive problems, again, exposing a lot of cracks within the industry, making certain problems really apparent. And so that is another piece which drove a lot of fintech innovation. So over my experience, this is what kind of drives these waves. There's either a problem or a new piece of technology, and then people respond to it. And then the industry kind of takes a moment to adapt, to kind of incorporate those pieces. We sort of settle into a new status quo. And then there's a new piece of technology or another new problem that comes along, and we get another wave. So right now, we're still kind of dealing with the wave in the post-pandemic side of things. A lot of companies are still looking at some of the problems that were exposed there. We're also seeing, as I said earlier, a lot of companies who are figuring out how to really play with AI. And I expect that we'll settle into a new pseudo status quo here over the next couple of years. And then I'm sure there's going to be something else, a new innovation or a new shock to the ecosystem that's going to change things. I personally hope it's more of a new innovation than another shock, but you can never tell, right? You just have to be open. So at a really high level, that's what I see driving this industry forward. And of course, there's any number of smaller little things you can highlight here and there. And I don't want to discount any of the work that some of the people are doing in this space, but those are the two primary drivers from this super, super macro level.
It's as if the themes that you're seeing are mirroring the world events. So you mentioned the pandemic and the rise of blockchain and crypto, and then the rise of AI. Like as these things are coming together, like it's manifested in the demos and the innovation that happens. So that's very
Yeah.
fascinating.
There is one ever present in the financial technology space, and that is security. This is the number one constant. This is always a challenge. Banks are always looking for better security. There's always new and more sophisticated fraudsters coming into play. And so that's the one that I have seen just completely straight line through the past 15 years. Everything else has followed a little bit more of this kind of wave dynamic.
Yeah, I'm sure the audience of Peak IDV would appreciate that, Greg, because a lot of these companies that watch this content are trying to solve these tough problems in digital identity, identity verification, biometrics, authentication, and AI, although there's a lot of great benefits coming from it, does present challenges. We saw that from some of the demo companies around deep fake voices and dealing with agentic commerce and payments and things like that. Well,
Yeah,
let's
including me. I got spoofed on stage for the first time ever. Somebody took my voice from the podcast that we host and had me up there saying things that I would never say. And of course, that's the point, right? So, absolutely, that was a first for me.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, very dangerous. Well, let's close it out, Greg. We've got just a few moments left. I'm curious what's next for you and Finovate, upcoming shows or other things that should be on people's radar.
Yeah, so the next stop for us is going to be our New York show, Finovate Fall. That's always our biggest show of the year. That one is coming up September 8th through the 10th in Midtown Manhattan. We're back at the Marriott Marquis for people who've been before. It's a terrific venue. We're going to be right back where we have been. So that's a great place to look for us next. We're currently looking for demoers. We're taking applications for demoers and sponsors. And of course, if you just want to attend, that's fine as well. Don't let the fact that it's in Midtown put you off. The other piece that I should say is we're still actually just this week, we're going to be closing the nomination window for the Finovate Awards. So that's another potential opportunity. The awards are digital. It all happens online, although we will announce the winners while people are on site during Finovate Fall. And we for the Finovate Awards, we try to recognize a lot of the companies who aren't in a position to get up on our stage. So, people who can demo something new and exciting should absolutely do that. People who do excellent work in terms of bringing solutions to real customers are not always able to demo that work, but we have over 25 categories for the Finovate Awards that recognizes excellent work being done by banks, by core service providers, by partners who are coming together to build something cool and unique. So check out FinovateAwards.com for more information on that, and FinovateFall.com for more information on our upcoming show in New York. And as always, info@finovate.com is our email address. If you have any questions on anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Very exciting. And I'll be sure to put links into the comments for this stream. And I'll say the New York show is also phenomenal. I've been to that show. There's such a diverse fintech ecosystem in New York, in the city, in the surrounding area. So without a doubt, you all should attend that show as well. Well, Greg, we're at time. Thank you so much for hopping on this quick format. Any closing words before we wrap the stream?
No, it's been a pleasure, Steve. Thanks so much for this opportunity and for the support you've given us in San Diego, in your hometown, and look forward to seeing you on the other coast in a matter of months.
For sure, for sure. All right, everyone. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, Greg.